but I didn't.
Yeah.
I just want to go.
So folks, it's 5:30.
Yeah, that's right. So folks, it's 5:30. We're just going to call the meeting to order, please.
Give me 1 second.
You bet.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
All right, great. Director Gordon, we're all set? Is everyone else perfect? Thank you. So welcome, folks. It's January 13th, the regular meeting of the SVUESD Board of Directors. My name is Chris Murphy, and our posted agenda has been circulated, and our first item, sorry, I thought I heard phone. Our first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So I would invite anyone who cares to rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America.
and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God,
indivisible,
civil,
liberty,
justice for all.
The second agenda item is public comments. Just where there was some conversation, and there has been some conversation regarding public comments. Should it be before each agenda item? Should it be just in the beginning? So just to let folks know how public comment is run at this board level. Public comment is a single agenda item, but it's open for anything. Public comment, as noted on the agenda, is a time to address anything that's on the posted agenda. It's also a time for anyone in the community to bring anything to the board's attention whatsoever. It's not a question and answer period, so please don't perceive the board's silence in response to any questions as being intentionally rude. It's not the purpose of public comments. But again, anything you want to talk about, now's the opportunity to talk about it. So I would ask that if you have something to share for public comment, please be recognized by the board. Give us your name, tell us the town in which you live. We'd also note that because we have budget stuff that should really get through tonight, I'll first begin by saying, is there anyone who has never spoken at one of these board meetings who would like to say something? We'll give it first to the folks who have never spoken. Seeing none. For anyone who has shared something, and if you're sharing essentially the same point of view that you've shared at earlier meetings, I would ask, let's keep this brief so we could then transition into the budget discussion, which is really going to drive most of our agenda tonight. So anyone else like to participate in public comments? Hi.
Hi, Kelly Carroll, Bennington, and I will do you a favor and keep it brief.
Thank you.
Okay, so, good evening. I'd like to go on the record tonight to note that State Representative Mary Morrissey delivered a petition with over 300 signatures from local residents asking the SVSU board to add a discussion about the Pledge of Allegiance to the agenda. That petition followed all proper procedures. It was submitted in good faith by community members who care deeply about civic education and respect in our schools, and yet it has not appeared on any agenda where the public is allowed to comment. So I'm asking that this be acknowledged here during public comment, that there at least is a record that the 300-person signature was submitted and basically ignored. And at a previous meeting, the chair stated that this issue should be handled, quote, at the state level. I'd like to respectfully ask, knowing that you're not going to answer, but what has the chair or this board actually done to move it forward to the state level? Have you written to the Agency of Education? Have you proposed anything to our state representatives? Because from the outside, it looks like nothing has been done. And meanwhile, families and teachers are being dismissed for even raising the issue locally. At the same time, the SVSU board is asking the public to complete an Act 73 survey and provide feedback on the future of education in our district. That's an important initiative, but it raises a fair question. Why should the public take the time to engage in surveys if their voices are ignored on issues like this one? Public trust is a two-way street. If you're asking families, teachers, and voters to participate in planning the district's future, that engagement must be respected, whether it comes through a survey, a petition, or standing here tonight. So respectfully, we are not going away, and the public deserves to be heard. So thank you. And here is a copy of my comments and the 300 signatures so that you just know on the record, it has been submitted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. Clark Adams, Bennington. One of the things I would like to have published, I don't know if I'm going to discuss it, is a mechanism for the public to actually be able to interact with the board with their concerns. Whether it be the requirement we send in a letter or some sort of documentation that you would like to have this discussion, and that the board respond to that circumstance. As it is now, it seems to me, yes, you can come here and speak during public comment, but there will be no discussion, or the idea of an agenda item, having a discussion during that, or even having an item created as an agenda item. I'd like some sort of policy or mechanism to be published so the individuals can sit down and read the requirements to comply with it, so they may be able to be heard and speak with the board on subjects of concern, whether, regardless, any subject that concerns the public. I think the public should have a mechanism to address the board with back and forth on their concerns. Thank you.
No one else? Hi.
Hi, Sarah Beth Ward from Bennington. And I've been following the discussions about the Pledge of Allegiance, and I wasn't able to make the last meeting. But I did watch it on Cat TV like the next day, and I did write an email to you, I think that day or the next day. I never got a response, so I would just like to read it in public, what I wrote to you. I've been following the discussions about the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance at our elementary schools. While I was unable to attend the last meeting, I did watch it on Cat TV. I was appalled at your statement about the teachers that want to say the pledge after the bell rings. You stated that it shows a lack of time management skills. As the mother of an elementary school teacher who has dedicated her life to shaping the minds of this generation of students, I found your words and tone to be very dismissive. I would bet that you have not spent any time inside of a classroom. I think you need to trust the teachers as they know what is best for the students and how to manage their classrooms. Teachers have a hard enough time without you trying to micromanage them. Let's try to keep the good teachers in the district. Everyone will benefit if we all work together. I agree with Mike Gardner that you do owe teachers an apology.
From Arlington, Vermont. Like permission to speak since I am from Arlington.
Sure.
Thank you. So at the last meeting, the board chair shared a fabricated narrative explaining his perspective on how we got to this point. And tonight, I would like to share my firsthand account of what actually happened. The board chair stated that in September of 2024, there was a request for an accommodation for a student to not be present during the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. This is not true. In September of 2024, I received an email from a parent.
Just kidding. I'm going to stop because when the board chair made a statement, it did not identify the classroom that was happening. It did not identify anything. I believe what you're about to do is identify your classroom as the source of this, and that cannot happen because we cannot be providing information that may allow any member of the public to identify a potential family or potential child.
Well, there's no identifying information.
If it's going to be about your classroom, I would say that that's close enough. And so if you can adapt your statement to however you may need to do it, to not reflect if it happened in your classroom, that would be my request. Which for the board members is a long-standing practice, which is why we don't pull out aggregated data regarding student behavior, about special education, about anything, for the fear that members of the public may be able to identify specific children and specific families.
However, okay. You are not being honest with the public.
Thank you for the summary.
There are many. I can share this with anybody after if they'd like.
I would ask you to be cautious not to share anything with the public about students in your classroom.
I'm not sharing anything about students.
Thank you
in the
very much.
classroom. I am a professional
But thank you.
and these people were out in the public talking about it. So I've kept my mouth closed. I'm going to continue to speak. Thank you. You have continually lied and not been honest with the public. You have backpedaled And let's see. You claim every child has the opportunity to say the pledge daily, but they don't. 4 of my students arrive on the late bus. They frequently arrive after 8:30 a.m. Some mornings they don't show up until after 8:35 a.m. And that's not their fault. It's almost 1/3 of my class. 1/3 of my class that wants to say the Pledge of Allegiance with their classmates, and you are keeping that from them. So many things have happened since this all started, but what I find most alarming is your dishonesty and your willingness to silence people with opinions that are different than yours. Mrs. Clark invited you to her classroom to see how organized she is and how well she manages her time, and I invite you to do the same to in my classroom. Do I think you'll do this? No. Yet you so confidently told the public something untrue about me. Another lie of yours. You do not know me, board chair. You do not have the right to tell the public I am something I am not. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Ms. Clark, Shasta Elementary School. The definition of banned is forbidden or not allowed. This word was used by me when my administrator pulled me out of class during the school day and informed me that I was no longer allowed to say the Pledge of Allegiance at school. Still today, 16 months later, the Pledge of Allegiance is still banned during the school day at Shasta Elementary School. On a daily basis, the staff at Shasta Elementary School receive an email to our administration stating we need to say the Pledge of Allegiance by 8:25 a.m. This is before our school day even starts and also before all the school buses arrive and students arrive. As it stands right now, the directive from the board is to allow all students to say the Pledge of Allegiance if they choose, but this cannot happen when it is also expected before classes begin. Even the most organized teacher is not able to follow through with both of these directives. It is impossible. Not all students are in the classroom by 8:25 because school doesn't even begin until 8:30. Our administrator is not being flexible with the wording of this directive like all other administrators are. And this is why the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance has been such an issue in Shasberry, but not in any other of the schools in the district. This is why the discussion of the Pledge of Allegiance needs to be put back on the agenda and discussed so that the directive can be changed to not during instructional time. This change will give all students the opportunity to say the Pledge of Allegiance if they choose to, because as of now, not all students are allowed to if they're unable to get to school too early.
Anyone else for public comment?
So I'm Rachel Blumenthal. I live in Shasberry. I'm going to repeat what I've said before in support of the directive, which I think took a lot of discussion and a lot of work on the board's part. And I just want to make 2 points. I think the directive allows for kids and staff to be able to opt in to an opportunity which always feels like a more positive and workable model when we ask kids and staff to opt out. And I think that's for me a really important piece about why the directive can work. I think there may be issues with implementation, which I think is a whole different issue that we might want to look at. I also want to share that just an overall thing, this is a public educational system open to all, where we don't all have the same vision and values. And that's both a beautiful thing and a huge challenge, as clearly demonstrated. This school system belongs to all of us. It's not my school, it's not your school, it's our school. And really together, we have to find the middle ground where we can have a workable enough solution and can also move on to the other important aspects of school issues, which is critical.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Director Gordon, are you able to see if anyone online is raising their hand? And I will say, anyone online who would like to, please use the little hand wavy option.
I do have everybody that is present displayed, so you would be able to see it if anybody does raise their hand.
Anyone before we close public comments? Thank you very much, everyone. So moving on to the type, Cindy.
I'd like to make a motion that we put this issue on our agenda next month.
So next month, right now, as the chair, as the person who will be crafting that agenda, the answer is no.
And why not?
For all the reasons that we've talked about ad nauseum.
Again, people have come in several times.
Yep.
And I feel that we're ignoring them.
So,
And I feel we should hear them out and we've heard them. but I feel it's this board's responsibility to answer them.
Okay, thank you for that perspective, Cindy. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. Yeah, Brent, hi.
I'm a representative for Shasbury and, like I said, this is all new to me, stuff like that, but I just really feel that we're kind of doing a little disservice here. I just think that, and I've read all of your emails, everything. I get it, but there can be some tweaking of the wording. I mean, I can't believe that 16 months later, we're still talking about the Pledge of Allegiance.
I agree. I also agree.
16 months.
But since it's not on the posted agenda, we ought not to be talking about it as a board.
But you won't put it on the.
That's right. So moving on to the next agenda item, which is our consent agenda.
Is
We have-
this still the United States?
Not
That's my question.
So on the posted agenda, we have the minutes from last month. We have 3 notices of retirements. We have 1 nomination form and 1 field trip form. So we'll begin with a conversation of the minutes, please. Are there any suggested modifications or alterations to those minutes from December 9th? Okay, hearing none. Any questions about the rest of the consent agenda?
Yes, we're waiting for information on the developer that was going to come back to us this month.
Okay, and remind me, please, Sandy, what field trip information we're waiting for?
The details on the staff at Key Wadens, the safety protocols that I couldn't find on the website, that I feel that they should have them. I hope that they do have them, but I don't know that they have. So we had asked to have that looked into and verified, have someone share that with us this month.
So forgive me for overlooking it before. Are there specific questions you have about the safety protocols at Key Wading?
Yes.
She brought them up in the
I-
last session.
Yeah, and I apologize. If you could
can't
please
answer
remind me
them
of those.
now, then it's okay. We can move forward without approving this. And if there is someone that is familiar with it, perhaps they could be here.
Maybe the superintendent is. I don't want to presume he doesn't know the answers. And I apologize for not having that addressed here.
I can follow up with
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
And those were specifically noted at the last meeting?
staffing and operation.
Crystal has her hand up.
Oh, Chriselle, hi. Okay, I didn't realize you were with us, Chriselle.
Hi there, everybody. I was just hoping that I could rehear what was said, just because I didn't catch that. It kind of like the sound went out a little bit for me.
With regard to the Key Wading field trip request?
Yeah,
So there are questions regarding, Sandy, I'll let you phrase it.
Yeah, so the last month when it came up, there were a few questions that were unanswered, and unfortunately, there wasn't someone here to be able to help us and give us those answers. Simple questions, safety protocols, have all the people, has the staff at Key Wading, have they all been background checked? Because they will be with I believe, I'm not positive, but I believe they'll be with our students one-on-one. And we know that our staff has these safety protocols, and I just wanted that assurance that our students are going to be in good hands.
So background checks, I know what that means. Can you please be more specific about safety protocols in general? Like like we're talking about like fire drill stuff, we're talking about
No,
yeah.
it could be I don't know enough about it, and I couldn't see enough on the website to help me answer those questions. And so I was hoping that they would be answered.
Okay.
And I was also hoping that at some point, way back in the day when we first allowed our kids to attend Key Wading, that we would have had some kind of slideshow or something to share with us what this program is.
And again, I want to make sure that answers to the questions are raised. So potentially fire drill stuff, potentially like water safety.
No.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I just
Background
want to
check,
understand.
Background check.
That I understand.
That is the key piece.
Okay.
You know, what are they using? What kind of background check are
Mhm.
they using?
Sure.
What safety protocols do they have? Are they
so,
in the water?
so
Are they near
Sandy,
the water?
so Sandy, just to clarify, because I want to make sure that I'm hearing you correctly, you just want to know what kind of background checks are being performed on people who are attending these trips that are not
are
part of the
working
school
at-
district.
No, who are working for Key Wading. I feel quite confident that our SU is very good about the background checks, and I feel that they take care of people that we're sending. I just don't know about the staff that's there because there was nothing on the website to help me.
And so safety protocol specific to staff,
Yes.
okay. Not like all the other things that can necessarily fall in under the umbrella of safety in a program.
No,
Okay, just background. Okay, thank you. And Superintendent Payne, you take a note of that? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Would you like me to follow up with the individual member or send something to the entire board?
Why don't you send something to the entire board, please? Okay. Okay, so let us again table key waiting. With that, so I would entertain a motion, please, to accept the consent agenda as published with item number 6, the field trip table.
I did have a question about the NOM, and this has been something that we had asked as a board. I know that there's a pending endorsement and a current endorsement. So if the grade level is in that endorsement of the early childhood, then it wouldn't matter. But because it says pending, I'm just hoping that there is some type of endorsement license for the teacher.
So it's my understanding that the State Board of Ed has all the authority it needs to both issue the licenses as well as the pending licensure.
It's not a provisional. This is not a provisional.
This is that odd third category that we had explained to us 2 or 3 meetings ago. There licensure, there's provisional, then there's like something fluffier than that. So that it's my understanding that this particular person falls under that third category, that sort of, I won't call catch-all because maybe that's not accurate, but like, I think at least I understood. I know what license means. I know what provisional licensure means. Then there's that other category. And I think that's what this is.
So it's on its way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So does anyone care to make that motion regarding the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Glenn. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you.
I'll
We have a first and a
second it.
second. Thank you, Christelle. We'll give it to Sandy, but thank you. So any further discussion on the consent agenda as published with the understanding that we're tabling agenda item 6? Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as discussed, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And it carries. Thank you very much. So agenda item number 4, finance, the FY27 budget update. So we will turn it over to Director Gordon for this, please.
Good evening. The waiting room has been active. Mr. Payne, just so you know.
My apologies.
So I'm just going to share my screen. And there are a few copies on the corner of the table there that are just the first 5 pages of the budget document that was posted online. But what I'm going to share with you tonight is kind of an abbreviated way, hopefully something that's a little bit easier to digest than all of the vast amount of numbers that are on this documents being circulated. This is draft 3 of this budget. The last meeting, we were at a 3% increase. There was a comment like, yeah, see what you can do if we can get closer to level funding. So we are at a 1.1% increase right now. I'll go into a little bit more detail, but one of the factors is what we have budgeted for potential salary increases through negotiation. So that's been tightened up a bit. And then we do have some changes to FTEs. So what we have, I'll go through what's in versus what's out. So there were several asks that we had on the last draft. Many of which were coming about because of the Title I School Improvement Grant that's ending June 30th of 26. We have received notification from the agency that they're going to allow carryover funds into FY27. And what those projected amounts are by school look like they'll be sufficient to cover some of the FTEs that we had included in the previous draft. So because of that, I've pulled out the behavior coach at Mount Stark because we will have sufficient funds to carry that next year in Title I SI. The math teacher, math coach at Pownell is also going to be covered through that grant. The funds for Benel do not look sufficient to cover the 2 FTEs that are at that school. So the behavior coach and the licensed clinical social worker that currently are being funded through that grant are included in this draft of the budget. So we were planning to move them all into local, but I only need to move 2 out of those 4. Also, what remains in is the requested 0.4 clinician at Pownell and the current increase of a 0.1 library media specialist at Monument. So those are in. The other things that have come out, there was a request for a math teacher at Monument. There isn't a person serving in that role right now, so this would just be a new role. So we've removed that as a proposal. We've also removed, there was a vacant classroom teacher position at Pownell, which we were using to fund the math teacher from Title I SI. But since that's going into the grant, we've removed that position. It's been vacant for a couple of years and it doesn't look like we're gonna need it for an additional classroom at Pownell, so that came out. And then we also have a vacant art therapist that was, I think she resigned the end of last fiscal year, I think. So that is in the current FY26 budget, but it's not being filled, so that has then been removed. So those are the changes in the FTEs. With that, that has brought down our general state support grant, or what we're requesting from the education fund. So that was a 9.9% increase highlighted there in peach, down to 7.7. The reason we're seeing such a big increase in this is you can see that our fund balance has decreased, which is a good thing. We are spending the money that we are budgeting, but it also comes with a cost, right? So we have less offsetting revenue, which then forces us to ask for more from the education fund. The other slight change on the revenue side is our announced tuition for SVUESD is going up just a little bit. So that is a slight change from the previous draft. So just to recap.
Hey, I'm sorry, could you go back one more and just draw attention to the number at the bottom right? So the total school budget is up 1.1%.
Our trends in enrollment to decline. So I have SVUESD and Mount Anthony here. The next few slides, you'll see I have both SVUESD and Mount Anthony. So because this district is just elementary, we have to pair that with the secondary budget to get every town's rate, essentially to pay for our pre-K to 12 education. And this is just other member districts in the SVSU experiencing similar trends in their enrollments.
Well, the enrollment number is important because it plays a big driving factor in the overall formula, which we'll attempt to share with you folks. We recognize that is not something we as a group can control, the number of kids enrolling in school. And we're going to talk about one other driver that's kind of out of our hands too, but it'll be important when we go from the 1.1% talk about what will be warned.
What I have here is kind of a snapshot of enrollments as of yesterday. These are all of our districts, but I have the SVUESD in the center, the 6 schools there, showing what their current enrollments are as of yesterday. I bring this to your attention because minimum class sizes go into effect through Act 73 as of July 1 of 26. So that law states that we should have minimum class sizes of 10 in grade 1, minimum size of 12 students in grades 2 through 5. And for this district, for those schools that have students in grade 6, those classes should be a minimum of 15. So looking at those, you can see that some of our schools are not going to be in alignment with that state law that goes into effect July 1. The other
There's
thing.
a hand raised, sorry. Board member on the screen, Christelle. Christelle, did you have a
Hi
question?
there. Yeah, my question is, I understand that the minimum class size is going to be going into effect in July, but what happens with the schools that have combined classes? Does that number count at all? Or what does that look like?
Well, so the AOE, well, I will answer that kind of almost.
Okay.
You see the next bullet that just came up on the screen, the multi-age classroom. So any of those classrooms that might be running a K1 or a 1-2, those classes are limited to 2 grades per class. So you can't have a K1-2. It's limited to 2 grades per class. The agency right now is working on definitions. So Christelle, to your point, they need to tell us. So they have a lot of definitions to give us and guidance as to how they're going to basically monitor this. The way the law is written, that any schools that are continually for 3 consecutive years not in alignment with what these laws state, they can come in and instill corrective action for the schools. We don't know what that corrective action might be. If it's going to be up to the state board, I believe it's going to be up to the Secretary of Education. So just want this to be on your radar, that it's going into effect. It's 3 years before potentially any action will be taken, but the AOE has been clear in the meetings that I've been in, that they will be monitoring and collecting data. So just wanted to share that with everybody, because we clearly can see that we have some schools that are not going to be in alignment. So just to recap where we were from draft 2 to draft 3, our expenditures have gone down by just over $620,000, or about 1.9%. The education spending is down a little bit more because of the shift in our incoming tuition. And this changes our education spending per long-term weighted ADM down from the previous draft. When we look at UED and Mount Anthony together, Mount Anthony adopted their budget last night at an increase of 4%. Their education spending did come down, but it's a little bit higher at 9.3% increase. And then our long-term weighted ADM across the board is decreasing. And this is one of the variables that goes into the calculation of what the estimated tax rates will be. So our ADM is average daily membership, which is the count of students enrolled in school between days 11 and 30 each year. That gets averaged over 2 years. And then we add what are referred to as state place students to that. And then all of those students that are in those ADM groups get weights if they qualify. They get weights for living in poverty. They get weights if they're English language learners. Sparsity, and we have grade weights as well, and small schools, not the latter of which we don't have for SVUESD or Mount Anthony. But
There are not weights for students served with an IEP or 5.
correct. So SVUESD has seen a drop in their student body of 50, which when it is weighted is 112. Mount Anthony saw a decrease of 35 in their enrollment, and when that's weighted, that became 86. So between the 2 school districts, that's a drop of almost 200 students, weighted pupils. And I mention that because the way that the law is written, when we're asking the public to vote on this budget, which is only an increase of 1.1%, we're required to list what our education spending per weighted pupil is, which is $14,051. And when we compare that to this year, it's an increase of 13.1%. And that is what has to go on the ballot. So the budget's only up 1.1, but when the voters actually read the question, they're going to see 13.1. And then same thing with Mount Anthony, their budget's only up 4%, but because of their education spending per weighted pupil, That's up 12.6. Clear as mud, right?
So for folks who are joining us for the first time this evening, we've had this conversation for a couple of months. If you'd like to play along at home, go on the website and underneath the superintendent, we have a one-page document. It looks a little bit like childhood chutes and ladders on one page as you kind of wander the path. On the backside, it actually has the math formula and all the variables identified. It is truly, as Renee said, clear as mud. And so we sit here and tell you that your school budget is up 1.1%, but the change in spending is going to be 13.1. That was what will be listed on the ballot as we go to vote. We can talk, and as Renee goes to the next slide, so we know that we have fewer kids enrolling in school. That is a statewide challenge. We've been in meetings all day today, listening to superintendents and elected officials across the state. The other thing that is driving us, and we're going to get into this a little bit, is something called the common level of appraisement, which everybody across the state is struggling with as well, which is a complicated math formula again, but what the state thinks your house is worth and what the assessed value. And if there's a great discrepancy, it actually penalizes you for not being closer to that formula. Again, that is something that we can't control. Many communities are struggling across the state to keep the assessments of their homes up to date. And so it is a complicated system. And I can talk a little bit under my superintendent's report about a conversation I had, but I will bear you that right now. Renee, I'm sorry, your next slide.
Nope, that's okay. I had a feeling you were gonna put me on the spot, so I was just trying to pull up another file while you were talking.
So we tried to do it in one page. It's new learning for me as a superintendent. I get folks stopping me in the community. Tim, I don't understand, how is it a neighbor in Shasberry pays a different rate? I'm a resident of Pownell. And so all of that goes into the model as far as figuring that out. But we are experiencing true trends that the rest of the state is. Fewer kiddos. I was on a meeting this morning with Champlain Valley's superintendent, right in the heart of Chittenden County. You'd think it'd be a booming school. Their enrollment is down about 200 kids over the last couple of years, which is surprising. They're hopeful that they're going to build their way out of it with new houses, but we shall see. Did your next slide?
Yeah, so just to wrap this up, this draft of the budget before you results in estimated tax rates, as you can see there. So this is a blended tax rate with Mount Anthony, and the way that works, it's proportional. So we have to look at long-term weighted ADM for each municipality between the two school districts, and it gets blended that way. When compared to the FY26 or the current year's tax rate, you can see what those changes are projected for next year and what the percentages are. So just so you recall, looking at this through draft 2, the increases were they were higher, but just as jarring. Between Mount Anthony and SVUESD, we've cut over $1.3 million out of those two budgets, and it has barely moved this needle on the tax rates. So for this board, on average, between the four towns, to drop that tax rate a penny, you would have to cut $380,000 out of the budget. So that's just for a penny. So they're really significant amounts. So, and then to Tim's point of the CLA, can make this a little bit bigger.
So if you look at the bottom box that Renee has displayed, the common level of assessment is so I'm a resident of Powell. My community currently sits at 67.14. Ideally, that number would be very close to 100. And that would mean that they would have to ask less funding from our community for the budget. The state has an adjustment in its process. They adjust for that across state. It's an attempt to lessen the impact of taxes on folks for property owners. So the second line down is their adjusted one. So you take that Pownell one, or you can take any community on there, if you like someone different. And you can see that it raises Pownell to 95.46. But again, that's an accounting maneuver, not necessarily addressing the underlying issue, which is, in the eyes of the state, our homes are not assessed at the value that they should be. And so what happens is we bear the cost of, having to raise more money on housing that they feel is undervalued. So that's how you go from having a 1.1% increase in your school budget, and your taxes are going to go up much higher than that.
Renee. Yes, it's probably an very easy question for you. On the reallocation of out-of-district tuition from student services budget to the local budget, could you help me understand that?
Okay. It's just due to eligibility, and we need to be careful because of identification.
I noticed under tuition that we are doubling from 26 to 27, and I'm wondering if those two correlate.
Yes, it was in the student services budget. It's now in the local budget.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for us, Director Gordon?
That's all I have for this evening.
So I'd like to open it up for questions for Director Gordon. I will say this, the part that is within our control, I think our building principals and our staff have done a remarkable job in keeping things in keeping the growth in check. To 1.1% of the stuff we can control, I think it's really commendable, because it shows that they are taking their fiscal responsibility very seriously and finding the way to do it. All this other stuff is outside of our hands. And so it feels, even to reduce this to a completely level fund would not take the sticker shock out of what we heard today. There's the common level of appraisal, how students are weighted, like none of that is in our control. And so I feel like this is probably as good as we're going to get. And again, thanks to every staff member who had a hand in putting this together and finding these cuts. But what kind of questions do we have for Director Gordon? Okay.
Sticker shock.
Yeah. So if we are in agreement that this is as good as it's going to get, then we'll need a motion to advance this proposed budget to be warned for town meeting day, please.
It was said on both of the other boards with larger increases. I will provide that motion for this budget to advance.
Thanks, Bud. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you,
I'll
Stephanie. So
second it.
first and a second. Any further discussion on advancing this proposed budget to be warned for town meeting day? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any,
I think the 1% looks good. 13%. People are moving out of the state. And that's why our children they're moving and they're taking their kids out of our schools. Vermont is very high on their taxes. Why are we paying for clinicians? Why don't they go to the general fund or something? It's frustrating. I get phone calls all the time. And people are upset. My own sister, it's hard for her to be here. She's gonna be moving.
Yep.
So I can't support 13%.
so Corinne, let's get through the vote first, and if we need to have further discussion.
I
we
just
will-
wanted to ask a question.
So we started the vote, but let's back it up because we've not finished the vote. And I mean, Cindy, what you say is it's completely valid. It's the 13% is, reflects those things that we as a local board can't control, but I think it's the kind of thing that I think folks at Montpelier need to hear for sure. Yeah, Corinne, please.
When I go to vote, I read all the stuff, and I'll tell you, if I saw 13%, I'd be like, holy cow, big old no. But now that it's explained that it's 1.1, is there a way for the general public to know that it's not actually the 13.1, it's a 1.1?
Tune into your local school board.
That's right. Go ahead. And
Do I need to get a placard out there in Shasberry?
well, and I think once this board passes a proposed budget, and I think we're that'll probably happen tonight, but we haven't done that yet. I think that a conversation on messaging needs to take place because you're absolutely, because I mean, the communication that's come out of the superintendent's office, providing that little roadmap that he shared with us a few months ago, that's been on the webpage. That is great for people who are seeking the information out. I think most folks probably don't know that they need to be seeking out this information. Again, they read their ballot, they see 13.1, they think, holy smokes, this is crazy. So, part of the responsibility of any board, I think, particularly this year, is about controlling that messaging and helping to explain to people what it is, all the work that this school district rather has done to control costs to the extent that we can, and understanding that a lot of this is out of our hands. So any further discussion or questions about this motion that's on the floor? Okay, just a reminder, the motion is to approve this proposed budget to be warned on the town meeting day ballot. So we've exhausted all questions. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, Christelle. Any opposed? We have Cindy who's opposed. Any abstentions? Okay, very good. Thank you very much, folks. With regard to messaging, I think it would be helpful if any board member wishes to take it upon themselves to reach out to local papers, local message boards, next door neighbor, talk to their actual next door neighbors and not just the app that's on their phones. Spread the word, and certainly if you, I'm going to volunteer Director Gordon and our superintendent, like they make it digestible every single year. I think even more so this year than maybe we've seen before. So chat with them if we have additional questions and tell everyone you can think of.
I think if there's an easy, unified message that we can get out that is, something comprehensible to everybody, that we could spread that, like as a parent at Woodford and on the PTG there, like I can make sure like stuff's going home to like Woodford parents and kind of like spreading or sharing on social media, things like that. But I just want to make sure that it's kind of like a unified message across the board, and that the language is the same and easily digestible. So I don't know if that's something that
Sure. Well,
somebody wants to draft.
yeah. Well, so I
me.
think Stephanie, the stuff that we've already seen come out of the superintendent's office can stand for that unified message.
Okay.
I'm saying more like when we're talking to our friends or our neighbors. Again, when I mentioned reaching out to the paper, some people still read the banner, which is great. And some people read it online or wherever they read it. I know a superintendent does. But I do as well. And suggestion. Sure. When you do that, just be sure to note that you can note that you are a board member, but you're not speaking for the board because none of us have the authority to speak for the board. That's just the minutia. But yeah, Superintendent Payne.
I think to your point, I think we can be one, if board members say, hey, Tim, I'd like to participate in a conversation and have some talking points going forward, we can do that. The SVSU board meeting at the end of the month might be helpful. It'll allow us to get through all the boards approving the board or approving their budgets. And then Renee and I and Katie West and all that, we can help folks by saying, hey, here's some information, and SVU can say, we're in agreement. This is what we want you going out and talking about.
Yeah, well, I think like the papers, it's fair to say like there are some documents. I just think that there's a lot of people that may not read like an official document that's out there. But if there was like a little blurb that was kind of like, hey, here's a heads up on, voting sort of thing, like it might look a little bit differently if somebody's reading something that's easily, a couple sentences versus like a full paper that they have to try to digest. So
13.1 equals 1.1.
Yeah.
Trust us.
yeah.
Really. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. And again, Director Gordon, yeah, please.
I just, I meant to start at the beginning. There was a request from our new district clerk, just as a reminder for any folks that are running for seats. Those petitions have to be turned in here no later than Monday, the 26th by 5 p.m.
Great, thank you. Okay. So again, Director Gordon, thank you for all the work in that and spearheading that for everyone. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 5, which is policies. We have a policy to warn. The board member conflict of interest policy is up to be warned. So take a look at it. It will circle back on our agenda and then we'll vote on it.
I think that's a mistake on our agenda
Okay.
because we have already done this on
Oh, this is
May
information.
13th of 2025. It was on our agenda then as an FYI, which means it has gone through twice.
Okay,
So I think it's just a mistake.
okay. Very good. So it won't come back up for a vote. So that puts us in.
Motion to adopt.
Well, we did because it's on,
Oh.
it's an FYI.
I think we posted it on every agenda, informational for some, but other boards have to adopt it, so understood.
Okay. Agenda item 6 is operations. We have the tractor bid and the elevator bid. So we'll begin with the tractor bid, and Superintendent Payne, I'm going to pitch this over to you. We had received some questions from board members, and it's my understanding you have some answers for those questions.
I do, and as I say that out loud, in the multiple piles, I set it down on the wrong spot. Hold on, sorry. Apologies. 1 second. Sorry, Holly. Don't mean to give you a hard time. It's right there. Okay. In no particular order, I want to thank board members for submitting questions in advance with the hope of informing folks so they can make some decisions. I'll just start at the top. How many staff members have experience operating the proposed tractor like the one being proposed? This is according to Todd Seclary, who is your Buildings and Grounds Director for the ESD. He tells us that there are 4 district maintenance employees who work out of the Molly Stark garage and will be working with this piece of machinery if purchased. Is this the best option for the staff and operational needs? The question that I remember from the last board meeting is that the current tractor, which is a John Deere 4610, has a backhoe. The question was, can this not be used for another tractor? The answer is no, it is not a universal. It is actually mounted to the frame. So it's specific to the piece of tractor or the current tractor. And so, yes, I think that answers the question that the proposed tractor would be replacement of that, thus the need for the backhoe. Where is this tractor stored? It's stored at the Molly Stark garage. It's climate controlled space. They have the ability to wash and provide routine maintenance. That was our concern raised at the last board meeting. How many schools would be having access to this machine? It'd be 7 schools. It lists a variety of things: moving snow, loading, unloading school equipment, loading salt trucks. During the summer, it provides excavation work, removal of concrete, landscaping, groundworks, among other things. Why wasn't this purchase included in the current budget? The money is set aside in the current 25 to 26 school budget. $100,000 was approved last year to be set aside for district-wide equipment. And so the purchase is coming out of that. This is not a request to come out of the 26-27 budget. What other items might come forward next year that aren't reflected in the budget we are building now? I think I understand this in that it's this would be anything that would be asked to be covered by Buildings and Grounds. I can talk a little bit about that too, because there was a request from board member. There is a document available to board. I made 1 copy of it just to show you before you say yes, please. But it does break down individual schools, grounds, building, interior, exterior mechanicals. This would be a guiding document for the ESD to know what projects might be needed next year and over the next couple of years. That might be a future conversation I'm happy to return us to. How do you balance asking budget reductions while considering this $100,000 purchase? Again, the tractor is coming out of the current budget, which has been approved by this board and is in place. And tonight's conversation is about approving the budget for the 26-27 school year. Those are the questions that were in advance. If there are any others, we can record those and come back to you. But the request, and did everybody get the bid summary? I did reach out to folks to ask, is this the information that you're looking for? So it would be the same format that some of you sit on the MAU board, and we purchased a pickup truck in a previous meeting. So it should show you what was requested, bid submitted, rationale for, and then the recommendation for consideration.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Payne. So we've seen the request. We have the questions that were submitted. Those have been answered. We've entertained a motion to approve the tractor request, purchase request. Specifically,
This one is the $100,000 tractor.
this is, let me, hold the right thing.
Given,
This recommendation says, 76,000.
is that with the trade?
Yes.
Yep.
From Salem Farm Supply, right? That's what, yeah. I preferred the other company. It was a little bit lower. It says that they didn't meet the specifications in regards to lift capacity and load constraints, but they didn't recommend, they didn't share what that means. Yeah.
Sandy, all that's listed out in the RFP. If you need a reference.
Flipping through it. But I don't know how.
Okay.
So I'm sorry if I missed it, but is there a specific question right now?
You mean flipping through?
Yeah.
I'm looking for the load because the other bid was lower and I would just prefer it. And I can't see where the differences are. I can't, it's too quick for me to be able to flip through them to see the differences. So
You said 60, 65,
76.
76.
So
I mean,
capital-
it's like meeting half in the way. I brought one up, it did make the rounds to everybody. It was 51,000, something like that. Equitable with the distribution, so I made an effort of trying to save 50 grand. Now I'm saving. If we were to push the other tractor through 26,000, just made the effort, be it noted, not adverse to a completely commercial Cadillac like product here as well.
Is that a motion to advance the tractor request?
No.
For motion? Okay,
It's just commentary.
okay.
So are you suggesting that are these, Holly, both industrial?
They're both commercial grades.
Are they both commercial? I didn't understand that in the one of them.
They're not long tractors.
So are there any, I'm again, not trying to be difficult, folks, but are there specific questions that anybody has about the tractor bit?
Yes.
Okay.
The difference in the 70,000 and the 47,000 of because I can't tell by looking at them, all I have is option 1 and option 2. So I guess I'm curious. This one. Which one is this? Exactly, that's what I doesn't match up to. Those amounts don't match up to what I'm not sure if that was a different bid they did. So that's from the capital capital. This has bid submission is 80/30/70. There's that. So what's the difference between the current inventory? That's a different, so it's the same place, but two different. Yes, so what's the difference in the tractors? Like, so it looks like, Holly, for capital tractor, there might have been 2 tractors that she's looking at. I think that, and you recommended one of them. The other one is less, and I think she's wondering if you can explain that. So it's the difference of, potential either 47 or 70,000.
I'm not looking what you're seeing. Are you looking at the bid form recommendation?
Yeah,
Okay.
it sounds like
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so,
handwritten.
I can't speak to that right now.
Handwritten on the bid form, Sandy?
Yeah.
So, it's a price for a New Holland versus, it's a compact versus an industrial. So I assume the cheaper one is a smaller tractor. I don't know that but the salesperson has written compact versus industrial. I imagine that's a smaller tractor.
And I'm sorry, where in the packet are you, what document are you looking at in the packet?
Page 2 of 3.
Of the bid summary?
Bid, SVUESD, factory bid. It's not the thing that says bid.
So I'm looking at the proposal that was in the packet and I'm on page 40.
So there's.
Yes, page 40 of the packet. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And on that page, it specifies where option 1 is the industrial and then option 2 is the compact.
So does that answer your question, Sandy?
No, not at all,
And,
but thank you.
so
Because I still don't, so if I understand this correctly, Holly, we're looking at industrial or commercial versus compact or non or home. Do you think?
Well, I think, a really good forum to provide you with all this information on how we use it, where we use it, when we use it, all the different bells and whistles. I'm happy to have the board to the Molly Stark Garage. So the guys that are boots on the ground can actually explain all these things. This was a collaborative effort to pick this particular model because it's sort of the unicorn of it. It's the Swiss Army knife of tractors for what they need. They are professionals. And what I would just want to make sure you understand is we sent this out to a public bid. We put it, the tear sheet, okay,
Packet.
and we put it out to the public. And then we invited people. We got 2 bids back and 1 didn't match, right? So we didn't go to Salem Farm and say, hey, give us a price. We asked and publicized to the whole community and said, please give us prices, and that's the only thing we got back. So I just want to make sure that's clear. You're welcome.
And now that you've said it's commercial versus non-commercial, I still like the option 1. The New Holland, it's my personal preference of the options that you've shared. And it is with the trade-in, it's at $70,042.65.
So for the board members, so we, just for clarity, so there is a 43-page document with loads of information and a lot of sort of information that came in throughout the various steps of the process. And then there is a bid summary and recommendation, which is a 2-pager. The 2-pager is the summary and the conclusion of all the information that's found in the 43-pager. What the recommendation is that we, as the board of directors, award the contract to Salem Farm Supply and authorize expenditures from the general fund up to $76,160 to cover the purchase as outlined in the project estimated cost summary. So as we've heard, that's money that's already been budgeted, that we've already approved. It's coming out of the money that we've already said, yes, use this for equipment. We have sent this back to Director Anderson and her crew twice. They've come back with a lower price. They've answered questions that have been provided. And I think it's time that we take action on this to give our staff the equipment they need to do the work that we're asking them to do. So is there a motion, please? I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to do option 1, which is the New Holland B75D loader backhoe industrial with enclosed cab with a total price with trade-in $70,042.65.
Can I just make a comment before we vote?
Please.
I just wanted it to be on record that I think it's worth investing in what the recommendation is, because there's maintenance people and everyone, they work really hard and they're doing the day-to-day task. And so I don't know anything about tractors, but when I hear industrial versus compact, I immediately feel like the industrial would be a better option.
Still make a motion.
I make a
motion. Christelle, the motion is for the industrial enclosed cab New Holland B75D loader backhoe.
Yeah, but
So there are 2 pieces. I'm guessing the other one is also industrial. That's just a different tractor. And I do know a lot more than I.
So Sandy, can you explain to us how the motion that you're saying differs from the recommended motion that's at the bottom of the 2-page bid summary?
The 2-page bid summary, I didn't feel that I understood exactly what the Kubota was giving me as opposed to what I did feel I understood from the other company. That's just.
So what's the difference in the motion? The motion, so there's the 2-pager ends with a recommended motion. You just made a separately worded motion and
Yes.
I'm not following what.
She's recommending the capital
Yeah.
tractor one
Over
versus the Salem
Salem.
Farm Supply one.
Yes.
The two that she's talking about, Capital Farm Supplies bid has two different models on there, and those were the industrial versus compact that we were talking about a second ago.
Mhm.
So out of the Capital ones, she's saying instead of going with Salem, she's making a bid to go with the Capital, the industrial from Capital
Mhm.
versus the industrial from Salem, which was the recommended one.
Well, we don't know it's industrial, it doesn't share with us. We do know.
Well,
from-
you had mentioned it's an industrial, right?
I would, can I ask the
Sure,
caution, is that the recommendation at the bottom of the bid summary is that the board enter into a contract with Salem Farm Supply expenditure. In the paragraph above that, prepared by the department, it says the bid provided by Capital Tractor, which I believe is what Sandy's proposing, does not meet the specifications requested in regards to lift capacity and load constraints. Pointing that out. So Sandy's proposing, hey, I hear you, Salem Farm Supply, appreciate it, but I like the bid from Capital.
And we don't know what the load limit is for either of the bucket loaders.
But I think we do know that the team has said that the Capital tractor does not meet that level. We don't know the numbers, but I think I'm unaware of anything that team has done that should give us doubts that they're being honest when they tell us that it doesn't meet their.
I don't think that's the right wording.
Okay,
Thank you.
then please correct me, because I'm not following what you're asking.
I just wanted to ask a different question because I'm with Christelle, the fact of like, I don't see anything about tractors and like for the difference of $6,000 when we already have it in the budget. Like I would go just with what they've recommended, just because of my lack of experience off of it and trusting somebody who, you know, is paid to do that. But what happens, Sandy made a motion. Do we vote on that motion first? before
There's
the
not been
other?
a second to that motion yet.
Okay. So before somebody makes a motion for the other tractor, I guess I'm just wondering like what the.
Sure.
Yeah,
I agree. Good. So we need to dispose.
Sandy,
of
will you
motion
say the
that
motion
has been
again?
made.
We don't know what the load capacity is for both of them. We just. As a board, all we can do is believe that one is better than the other.
Yes, yes. And as a board, again, we've sent this back to Director Anderson and her team twice now. She's come back, they have come back with additional information. They have told us specifically of the two bids they received, one does not meet what they need it to. And as Stephanie raises, it's a matter of $6,000. This is a team of professionals, and I'm not discounting the knowledge that anybody on the board may have about tractors. I also know that we employ these people as professionals to give us their professional input. And truly, for a part of the budget that has actually shown us a decrease, they have demonstrated that they take their fiscal responsibilities very seriously. And we can, even though they didn't tell us precisely what the different load amounts are, I think we can trust them that the one doesn't meet their needs and we can pony up the additional $6,000 that's the difference between the two. Yes, Cindy, please.
Okay, I know nothing about tractors. But I want to know, is that 70-some odd thousand you're asking us to approve, is that with a trade-in? Are we getting?
Yes, there is a trade-in amount on the 43 pager. It talks about what the different trade-in amounts are.
So the one that they're recommending prior to.
Oh, it says right
trade-in
here, it's 2 pagers.
91,660, and then after trade-in is 76,160.
So does anyone want to second the motion that Sandy made? Going once, twice, okay, 3 times. So Christelle, was there a separate motion that you wanted to make? And I would say at the bottom of the 2 pager, there is a recommended motion to be made. And I turn to you, Christelle, because you had shared an opinion in favor of that, but it's really open to anyone. I would entertain a motion that this board of directors award a contract to Salem Farm Supply and authorize expenditures from the general fund up to $76,160 to cover the purchase as outlined in the project estimate cost summary. Anyone want to make that motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Stephanie. We have a first. Do we
I'd
have a
like
second
to
on that
make it
motion?
too. I'll
Thank you.
second it.
Thank you, Christelle. So we have a first and a second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Christelle, that was in favor?
In favor, yes.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like 3-4 against, so the motion fits.
Can I just say,
Sure.
I will take you up on coming to the garage. I know nothing
I
about
will too.
tractors.
And
I've been looking at all the information and stuff. I know nothing about tractors, so I will take you up on coming down. I'm just not comfortable because I'm not sure what it is. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm voting no, because I'm not sure. Even though I've looked at the pictures, the quotas and all this stuff, read all the pages, I still am not quite sure why we need. Maybe I need to go around to the schools and see. I don't understand why we need such a big piece of equipment. Maybe I live under a rock.
We could move that rock with a good tractor.
If we have a good
Well, I will
tracker, we
take you
we
up
can
and I'll
move it.
Go down and see, because I'm unsure.
So just to that, we'll move on to the next agenda item. I guess to that, I would simply say this, there's lots of things that we as a board are faced with that we don't have professional or intricate knowledge about, right? Not the least of which is that we're not educational professionals. And so we trust our professional people that we pay to make informed decisions and to give us information so that we can then help them do the job that they're required to do. So the notion of what I'm going to describe as micromanaging the folks, and I say micromanaging, and I don't mean that like if anyone has a malicious intent, but it feels like we're getting in the weeds awful lot lately about second guessing and triple guessing and quadruple guessing our professionals who we trust with a lot of things. And so I would just ask that, moving forward, there is a certain amount of respect that goes along with being a board member, and I don't know that we always are.
The respect to the taxpaying,
Thank
community that puts us here.
Right, but sure. Yep, and the question that, it was proposed in that 2-pager. Hey, we got these two, but we did the process. We have these 2 bids. One of the 2 bids does not meet our requirements. So please give us the other bid. And what we just said was, no, we don't trust you.
That's
And-
not
and-
true.
I do not like having words put in my mouth.
Fair enough.
Don't do that.
What I will say is this. They tell us what the deal is, and we've said no. And I take it back. I don't know why we all just said no. I don't know why. I don't know why the 4 just
I'll
said no.
tell you right now.
Sure.
My job as a board member is to represent Pownell.
Yep.
And now we're talking about 70-some-odd thousand dollars.
Yep.
And I totally don't believe we need that much. We don't need it.
So we don't believe them. That's
That- now
We
it's-
turn that into, we're gonna get informed by them and.
And
So
she
let's move that
offered
forward.
to
Yep.
bring us to that and do this. And thank you, Holly.
I hope folks, I would encourage any board members who have that concern, please take Director Anderson up on the offer. I also think it gets into dangerous territory that if we start to expect our directors or our staff to just invite us in to teach us about what they do, because there does need to be a certain recognition that they know what they're doing.
I signed up for no said recognition at the beginning of this and have brought nothing but a common sense approach to everything that I've done from this. year.
Yep.
So that's not flying.
And there are more board members than just you, Glenn.
And
agree.
I find it would be worse that we don't ask questions and we just say, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I
And-
feel that we need to be informed and our
Yep.
communities expect us to be informed. And
Exactly.
if you don't have the answers, I don't know how 1 month is going to make a difference.
So I guess I will ask again that if anyone has specific questions to forward them, to me, I'll be the clearinghouse and they will all get forwarded. And the sooner we can get those questions to Director Anderson and her team, the better, so that answers can be gathered and that we can all make a decision on this. So moving on.
Is the tractor, sorry, I was out last month and this is my fault, some medical stuff. I didn't catch up on everything tractor wise. Is the current tractor not operational at all? Like, do we have something that is able to use at this point? I mean, I know you had said like there's some manual snow removal stuff, but like what is happening for like the current need of the tractor if we postpone this?
Sure, so the current tractor has been sitting there since November 8th, whatever our last meeting was, right? Because it needs about $20,000
I did
worth
see
of.
that, but I wasn't sure if it.
Yeah, so, you can't sit in it because all the fumes come out because one of the issues is the fuel injector something. So basically, we're asking our staff to sit in a tractor that's polluting their lungs right now, if it worked. And what I would offer is that we have, employees that are manually moving snow and books and everything, one slip and fall. And I heard back is gonna be way more than $76,000. So our staff, I'm really proud of our staff that they've been like, okay, like we'll make do because we ask questions. I wanted to make sure I give you all the answers to your questions. And so we've done that. I just want to make it very clear that since through this process, and I understand where you're all coming from, and thank you so much for your support. Our guys we have staff moving books, snow, salt. We have to go from the Molly Stark garage. I don't need to get down.
The question was, the tractor is not working currently. The estimate is attached to the packet. It's a almost $20,000 repair bill.
I did see,
So,
sorry to
we're
comment that, but I just wasn't sure if it was solely inoperational because I didn't
Absolutely.
read it as.
So our staff has been really patient on the tractor to answer your question.
But I'm asking a genuine question. If we're going down from, let's say, 50 to 70, but we have to pay 20 for something that's not working, that's a different bit of information to operate on.
Yep.
Rather than this type of stuff. And obviously wanting to show a care for the men who drive it,
Mhm.
you know, we would as well.
Okay,
That
so
turns me around a little bit so that
Well-
I would even make the motion.
I still would like to hear from Holly because I feel it's important that she shares her passion and her knowledge with us, and I don't
Bring the
mind,
donuts.
don't
No
mind,
problem.
yeah, I'll bring the donuts.
And I'm happy to do whatever. I will bring the donuts. I'll stand and, anyway.
Just,
But what we're asking presently, yeah,
One last thing, we appreciate your offer. We talked about this before the meeting. It's a very nice offer. I would encourage you to pick a date. Let board members know well in advance. They can come and meet Todd and the nice crew. Please know that your past practice as a board is that there is no meeting in February to give reprieve to my budgeting office. And then your March meeting will, among the items you have is reorganization. So it most likely will not be next month, but it'll be the following month that we reconsider. That should not be sprinkled in. Just, I want folks to realize we're not coming back in 2 weeks and gonna revisit this. It'll be a little bit of time.
and in that.
In that time, we can have a tour and everybody can answer
You
questions.
know, we're tomorrow and at the next snowstorm and the next ice storm, we're asking our staff to do this manually when, so, anyway, just so that's understood.
No snow days.
That's it. It can't snow, there can't be any ice.
So again, my hope is that folks can forward their questions to Director Anderson through me with enough time so that when we do come back, we can make a decision on this. Instead of continuing to bring more questions to the table, please.
You have one other bid.
Yep, we have an elevator bid we need to deal with.
We need to do that. Be respectful of folks' time. It's moving on to 7.
So looking at 6:45. So hopefully, I expect folks have read this. It's a one pager. The recommendation is for this board to award an elevator lift routine maintenance 12-month contract to Mack Brothers Elevator in the amount of $3,240. So I would entertain a motion. I'm sorry?
Where's the elevator going?
No, it's not to buy it.
it's
for maintenance and inspections for the year.
This is what gives you that lovely index card on the inside that says this is maintained by.
It's safe to
warranty.
travel.
This does include the annual inspection?
My understanding is it's inspection and maintenance. It's a contract.
Inspection, maintenance, and then the state comes through and verifies.
Make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. We have a first. We have a second.
I don't know.
I'll second it, but I don't know what.
First, we have a first and second. Christelle, did you have something to ask?
I was just making a comment about, it being the little card that you would get in a product. That's all.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. So we have a first and a second. Any discussion on this motion?
So let me clarify. I just want to make sure this is $3,000 a year.
This is for a 12-month contract.
But is it $3,000 a year or a month?
It is
Annual.
It is, yes. It
It's
is
an annual contract.
One cost
It's
for a
annual.
12-month contract.
And one breakdown of a good elevator would pay that.
I understand.
And this is just the, because it had your letterhead on the tops, but this is just for our, what do we have, 4 elevators?
I'd have to think on that, but yes, this is all for the elementary district.
Benel's the only one that has.
No.
No.
And Woodford has
And
a
Woodford.
lift.
Woodford has it.
But it has.
It does lift.
I know.
And it has to be effective.
We have our first and we have our second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Was that in opposition, Christelle, or was that in favor?
As an I.
In-
Okay, great, thank you.
In favor.
That's all of us. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Superintendent Payne, where's yours? Item number 7.
Two things, in our next meeting, an annual school calendar for the 26-27 school year. I always wondered if there was a committee that gets together. So we started a committee this fall and we sat together along with friends from Southwest Tech and the teachers associations. That draft has been shared with the regional superintendents. And as of last week, it was agreed upon at the state level for superintendents, which is past practice. So at this point, we have and what I will do is I'm having it cleaned up and I will provide it to the board so you can see it. It's for your information. Doesn't require any kind of approval, but it'll have a start date for the school year. How many days for winter break? I'm gonna let the kids in and let them know that it's not 2 weeks next year. February and April break. Sorry, some of the teachers in the room too are like, really? And so that has been done. And I will continue to use a committee, as the committee was very helpful in kind of avoiding some of the pitfalls. So I appreciate everybody who sat with that group. And so that'll be information forthcoming to chairs and to board members. Also speaking about information to board members, I had the opportunity to testify today before the Joint Senate and House Ed Committee. I shared my comments with board members in advance so folks could see that. It really wasn't all that glamorous. I zoomed in. I was there for about 15 minutes, but I appreciated the opportunity to talk. I got 2 questions in return. I got a question from one of the members asking about foundation formula, which we can talk about as we go forward. We're going to have to talk about because Act 73, but this is the idea to move away from the current process, determine an amount of money per student using weights. And so I thought that was an interesting question. And the other question was, are you seeing in your community the declining enrollment like the rest of the state? My answer was yes. I did leave them with 3 suggestions on my part. I do not represent the board in these comments. These are my individual observations as a new superintendent. 1, I asked for a budgeting process that would give us the amount of money at the start. And then trust communities to make decisions that meets their values and their goals and what their kids need. What I see is the current situation is anxiety that just cranks up starting in about August as we go through how much of my tax is going. And we've kind of covered that in our conversation. I also asked for a more streamlined process from the Agency of Education, encouraging districts to experiment, innovate, try something, fail at something, and not constantly be do compliance and checklists and things like that. It's my wish list. And then the last thing, and I want to thank Sandy for pointing this out, was if you as a school in the state of Vermont are going to take tax dollar money, regardless of your affiliation, public, independent, religious, then we should have to do all the same things. You have to put your goals on the board. You have to share your budget. You have to get community feedback. You got to post your kids' achievements. I think that's only fair if we're all going to be taking dollars. And so folks were very polite. I was one of 5 superintendents. The superintendent locally that folks would know, superintendent from Rutland, CVU was there, the superintendent who represents Woodstock, and the superintendent who represents the greater Royalton area. So I appreciated the offer. I hope that we continue to be asked to speak our minds from the southern part of the state. As a longtime resident, I know sometimes we feel that Montpelier's in another time zone. So I appreciate that. One thing else that we didn't even talk about this evening, but was talked about today in the presentations is healthcare insurance, which is a huge driver of our budget. The CVU superintendent did some analysis, and over the last 5 years or so, it is a 46% increase for them. And it's $30 million. It's a huge expenditure that is not addressed in any of the conversations in Act 73. That's all governance and budgeting. And yet that's another thing that's really not in the control of this board, as that is now negotiated at the state level, and it's been a pretty consistent, except for this year. It's a 9% increase, but it's been a pretty consistent double-digit increase over the years, so. And then I have a note to myself, to get board members through the chairs, some information as you go forth and start talking about the school budget with folks. And again, if you would like to participate, hey, Tim, I need this specific thing, go through the chair. I'll make sure that Renee and Katie and I will talk at the end of the week as we kind of work our way through budgets. I'll stop there.
Great. Any questions for our superintendent?
Oh, good job.
Thank you. Thank you for the notes.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Brings us to the chair report, very briefly. So as the members of this board know, we did receive I call it a petition, signed by a number of community members asking for a revision to our directive on the pledge. We received it, but it was not addressed to us. It was addressed to the SVSU. We are not the SVSU. I forwarded it to the SVSU chair. I think I said that last part in the email that I individually sent to each of you, but just to put it on the record that yes, but I guess it just passed through our hands. There is a written explanation of how members of the public can interact with the board. It's the correspondence to the board policy that's available on the SVUESD, I'm sorry, the SVSU website. Also the public comments policy is also there. So both of those things are written out about how members of the public can interact with the board. Now, let's do that. Superintendent Payne noted that we typically do not meet in February, the piece this year. So our next meeting will be in following elections. So good luck to everyone who is choosing to run again. Good luck to anyone who may be running for the first time. And that will be our reorganization meeting as well. So that
And we add in something to accommodate the tractor processing.
Oh.
Because it's not fair if they're out there doing something manually and they're down a piece of equipment. I would show up for a night, if it's a single scheduled meeting or something.
Special meeting.
We're gonna have to meet.
Renee,
Okay, so we have to meet again.
Okay,
To approve the
so that's where I'd like to take.
And so do we need, is the notion of coming back again for the warning, is that because we're waiting for the other folks, if they want to do the piece before we have a final?
I
budget?
just drafted it today.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just want to confirm with our district clerk.
Okay.
That I have all of the board seats correct, the other elected officials.
Okay.
And I need to confirm all the polling times as well. So
Is that likely? I'll look with deference to the superintendent. I'll look to you. Is that likely to be one of our carousel meetings, or will that be a meeting strictly of this board?
probably just of this, because I think the other, well, I don't know.
Okay.
We can- Now
A way to accommodate the request.
Okay, yeah, right on, cool. Great, so we'll see everyone at least one more time. Oh, one more thing I meant to mention for chair before we go. Negotiations continue on. I represent this board on the negotiations committee for the teachers and for ESP. So that continues. Some progress has been made. Some tentative agreements have been signed, which is great. We're still moving through it, but we're on the right track. Yeah, Sandy, hi.
We skipped agenda item 8, the SVSU. board.
Yes, we certainly did. Thank you so much. Yes.
And it was very quick. Director Gordon walked us through the finance, the budget. And we did approve the budget for the 26-27 school year. And we also talked about the Act 73 survey, which was rolled out, and we hope that everyone fills it out.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anything else? Linda? Perfect. Thank you for drawing us to number 8. So 8, 9, number 10 is the FYI, the budget status report, and the treasurer's reports. And that concludes our posted agenda. So I would entertain a motion, please, to adjourn. Thanks. And we will second to that.
I second.
Thanks. We have first and a second, any discussion on adjourning? We never do.